In this episode of the JSP Show, we're talking all about sharpening. Hey guys, what's up? It's Johnny here, and welcome to another episode of the JSP Show. And as always, I'm super pumped to be here. And this week on the show, we are talking about sharpening. So I'm going to talk about pre-sharpening and output sharpening in both Lightroom and Photoshop. So let's get started. Here's a cool image of a turtle here from, I can't remember whereabouts in Hawaii. I've got a really bad memory when it comes to places. But anyway, it was on the Big Island. I think it was on Kona side somewhere. But anyway, you can see awesome lava, black sandy beaches, and a cool, I think it's a loggerhead turtle. So, or actually, you know what? I think it's a green turtle. But anyway. I really should get my facts straight, hey, before telling people what the image is about. But anyway, let's get into it. So I've done a basic sort of run over this in the basic panel and some lens correction and bits and pieces and added a vignette. But I wanted to take you down to the details panel, okay? And this is my basic rule of thumb. So if we have a look in here, there's not much noise at all. If I hit Command I, it's going to show me that I shot this at 320 ISO. So I'm going to hit Command I again to get rid of that information. So there's barely any noise. So I'm not even going to touch the noise slider. So that means with my initial sharpening, I can push it somewhere to 70 to 80. And I'm going to just have a bit of a look. And that's a bit too far. You can see what's happened. It's caused some artifacting. We want to look around the edges of this sharp area as well. So if we turn that on and off, let's have a look. So this is just our initial sharpening, guys, okay? So you can see it's pushed that way too hard. So I'm going to pull that back. You know, usually 70 to 80 is usually pretty good. That's not too bad. I'm liking the detail on the shell there. Yep, that's looking pretty good, somewhere around that. And you can find, if it's not enough detail for you, play with the detail slide. You can see what it does if I exaggerate it. It's exaggerating all those areas. Exaggerating all the flat areas and giving that artifacting there, you can see. So the radius, you can see as I turn that up, you look at the edge of the shell up there, it's creating a slight halo, and we don't want that. So we want to keep that nice and low there before it creates that halo. And the other thing I really love, guys, is option. So hold down the option key, I'm going to pull the slider to the masking slider to the left, and everything that's turning black is not being affected by sharpening. Everything that's white is still being affected. And I'm going to pull that pretty hard because that bokeh area at the back, I really don't want that affected at all. So let's have a look here. We are on, we're off. On, I think that's pretty good. That's made a huge difference to that image. Look at that. Off, I don't know if you can see that in the video, but on, there you go. So that would be what I would do. That's about, 70 to 80. Say I was going to push my noise reduction to like 40. My general rule of thumb, I wouldn't push the sharpening past 60. So, if your noise reduction and sharpening adds up to around 100, that's just a general rule of thumb. It's not like, it's going to be work like that each time. You really got to look at, make sure your sharpening's not pushing that noise back. But that's another added bonus tip there. So if I was going to export this and for my export sharpening, okay. So here we go. We're in the export panel. The main things I want to tell you guys about, I'm going to close all this stuff up. So say I was resizing this to say the long edge was, say my long edge was 1,000 pixels, okay? Something like that, because I want to resize this image for the web, okay? So my sharpen amount, I would go high, okay? Because I'm going to, and you can test this, guys. You can try the output sharpening in Lightroom, try high, try standard for the image you've got. But generally, 99% of the time, I've found high has been the best when I've been output sharpening for the web. Hands down, it's been the best output sharpening. So anyway, that's what I do. I would export for screen, and obviously high. And it's also, if you got print there, you've got matte paper and gloss paper, you can select for your output sharpening as well. So, but if I'm exporting for the web, which is most of the time, that's when I'm outputting for screen, high, it works the best for me. All right, so that is Lightroom. That's sharpening in Lightroom. That's your initial sharpening there, plus your output sharpening there in the export panel. So we are over here in Camera Raw. So let's get down to it. So we're in the sharpening panel. Now, my initial sharpening I do in Camera Raw is pretty similar to what I would do in Lightroom. In fact, it's that similar. It's exactly the same. So anyway, I do the same thing here, guys. I push it around 70 to 80. We can zoom in a little bit here. We're looking for halos. Oh yeah, we're looking for halos. There we go. That's a better. So 70 to 80, something like that. Play around with the radius. You know, you can see as I crank that radius up, it's creating that halo there. So just be very careful with that. And same with the details. It does the exact same thing here. You know, we might push that up just a touch more there. And I'm going to hold down the Option key on a Mac, and I'm pretty sure it's an Alt key on Windows. And everything that's turning black is not being affected. Everything that's white is being affected. So something like that, you know, that's looking pretty good. Yeah, let's zoom back out now. If I can drive camera raw, let's just zoom back out old school here. And that's looking pretty good. I'm liking where that's headed. That's looking nice and sharp. All right, so we applied our sharpening there. Let's open the image. Photoshop do its thing, and the first thing I'm going to do is Command J, or it might be Windows J. I'm just guessing on Windows, but on the Mac, Command J. I'm going to duplicate the image. Photoshop is a destructive editor. I always like to be able to roll back if I have to. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go Edit. Actually, we're going to go Image Size. Okay, let me bring this dialog box over here. And I'm just going to make it about 1,000 pixels. 1,000 pixels works well for me for the web. Now, there's been a lot of talk about resolution, and honestly, resolution, when you're resizing it, I've done the test, it makes no difference. The only time it becomes a problem is when you're printing. You know, the resolution really affects your printing. You want it up 240, 300. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, yeah, 72 for the web. You could put 72, but honestly, I have seen it make absolutely no difference. So I'm just going to hit OK there, and my image is going to be resized down to 1,000 pixels, which still looks pretty cool. But we want to have another, because we have resized it, we want to do some sharpening for output, okay? So we want to go Filter, and we want to go Sharpen, and we want to go Smart to the Sharpen, okay? I'm going to bring that, okay. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, it's funny. So I'm going to zoom in on this little fella here a little bit, make it 100% there so I can see what's going on. And I want this little Joey here on 200% on their preview here. And I'm going to look around that shell area. That's a good edge, okay, to make sure we're not over sharpening too much. And the first thing I can see, man, it's haloed out to the wazoo. So we want to turn that down a bit, guys. Like, seriously, let's have another look. So I don't see, we turn it right down, you can see, I could still do with a bit more sharpening. So I'm looking at this going, and every image is going to be different, guys, and it's totally up to you. I'm going to turn that radius down a bit because I can still see a little bit of haloing there. And look at the difference, hey? Without the sharpening, and because we resize the image, look how blurry that looks again now. So it definitely needs some output sharpening, which is what we're doing now. Now, I'm not going to do any noise reduction. Definitely doesn't need it. I think that's looking good. So we turn the preview off. Wait to catch up. Turn the preview on. You may not be able to see that, but there is definitely a difference there. It's looking good. Preview off. Oh yeah, look at the difference on the guy's fins and that. Preview on. Anyway, you mightn't be able to see. I'll do a bit of a before and after later. But so lens blur, man, that often is the bomb. I always leave it on that. Now you can get technical in here and say you wanted to add more sharpening into the shadows or more sharpening into the highlights. You can actually make that adjustment here too. Most of the time, because I've done my pre-sharpening right, I don't worry about this. But if you find you want more sharpening in your shadows, which often is not the case, if you want more sharpening in your highlights, you can do that here. It does give you the control. So I'm just going to hit OK there. I'm pretty happy with how that is. And let's see if we can do a bit of a before and after. I'm going to turn that off. Oh, yeah, look at the difference, guys, okay? So off, on, off, on. And now I can just go ahead and file, save for the web, and that image is beautifully sharpened for the web, and it's going to look absolutely amazing. All right, guys, that's it for this week. It's been a bit longer, but I did want to cover this in both Lightroom and Photoshop for all you Photoshop users out there, and it's been another great week for me, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take it easy. Peace.